Hello to all of our BPTV friends and YouTube fans. Thank you so much for watching our 15 shows of By Request. I can't believe we've done that many. Thanks to Jessica Lee, my co-producer and co-host. This is Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And yes, I do more than talk sports. So we have a great show for you today. And I'm going to only tease you with, we have a great artist friend of mine who I know 1 year less than Jessica Lee. And so it's very interesting. And I'm so honored to have two of my best friends on a BPTV show. And I hope you're as enthused as I am. So I'm not going to hold back. Let's talk to Jessica Lee.
Hey Al, nice to see you and nice to be with everybody on this By Request show. So, just to remind people why we're doing this, during the coronavirus pandemic, many people reached out to me and had song requests and asked me just to play and sing some songs from my piano for them with messages that had some meaning for them during the pandemic. So I did that on social media, and Al, that led to this particular show. So it's great to be with everybody. We've featured some different requested songs on these shows. But today, you're right, we have a special guest, and I want to tell everybody there was a special request that led to this special guest's appearance today on the show. This was pre-pandemic, so we're going back a couple years when this wonderful visual artist friend of mine said that he had written some lyrics, and he gave them to me and said, if the spirit moves you and you are able to write some music for these lyrics, please do it. And so I want to introduce at this point in time, Al, if we could, our good
Yes.
friend, our good friend Vince Ornato, beautiful professional artist. So hi, Vince.
Hey everybody, how are you all today?
Hi, Vince. Welcome to the show. Glad you could make it today.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, Vince, we always start off the show with a little bit of asking Al what he's drinking today. So go ahead, Al. You know about this, Vince.
I sure do.
This is my loose leaf green tea, Young Hyson from Nicholas Coffee and Tea in Market Square. Been drinking this for years. It's an inexpensive, great tasting to me. And I understand people do not like the taste of green tea, but I'm one of the few that do among many millions. So I appreciate it. Sip by sip, the better health for all of you. And let's hear more about this song, Jess.
Yeah. So to your health, I happen to like the white tea. So
Coffee.
white tea, and we got and I drink the coffee in the morning. So there's Vince with his coffee. To your health, both of you. Vince, please tell us about your lyrics. Give us a little bit about how those lyrics came to be.
Um, Let me think. Well, Jess and I were texting about something. I think there's probably a event coming up at the Rivers Club, and it was just a short text kind of thing. And when she was signing off, this was March of 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I think. And as she was signing off, she just said, well, I guess the snow's out of the way. We were having one of those mid-March nice weather type of few days in a row, happens in Pittsburgh. And I just said, not until I see a cardinal, this is texting, not until I see a cardinal on a neighbor's rooftop. And she wrote back, well, I've seen cardinals. And I said, that's the suburbs, that doesn't count. I live in the city. And it's really true. There was about 5 winters in a row where, regardless of the weather, regardless of the snow, regardless of the heat, when I saw a cardinal on my neighbor's roof, I have a third floor deck that I step out of my studio onto that looks right at downtown. And I'm looking at rooftops all around me. And I started noticing whenever I would see a cardinal, that would be the end of the snow. It wouldn't snow again. I don't care how cold it was. I don't care what. So that's what I meant by that. Well, a week later, a few days later, whenever we had this event, and I saw her down at Rivers Club, we were laughing about it a little bit. And I said, I don't even know why I said this. I said, if I wrote lyrics, would you look at them? And she said, yeah. And then I had asked her, can you think of any songs about Cardinals? Now, musicians know a zillion songs, and I'm a longtime music fan. And I know, and I don't know if Jess even realizes this happened, but obviously there's songs about Cardinals. She opens her mouth and nothing came out, and we stared at each other. And we're going Bluebird, Blackbird, Mockingbird, Hummingbird, Rockin' Robin. There's like all these songs.
Skylarks, larks all over the place. Yeah.
There's all these songs. And we looked at each other. It was interesting. You'd think there'd be at least one obvious one, and there was none. And I think that's when I said, if I wrote lyrics, would you look at them? And she said, sure. So I was a writing major in college. I got into art actually after college. But anyway, I actually think I was in the shower, but a few weeks ago, an idea hit me for a song, and I know the difference from being a visual artist, a painter, and having written so much in college and then after actually. I know what that's like when an idea like grabs you. It's one thing when they kind of enter your mind, but when they actually grab you and have this pull on you, it's a whole different thing. And I remember, and I scribbled, I was in a shower and I changed the stuff, but I scribbled everything down that I had so far. And I also know that process of the first thing you got to do is get it out, get it on paper. When you're drawing, it's your thumbnail, it's your whatever. You got to get something down that can then be molded and chipped away at and added to. And if you think of it like clay, I feel like I'm on a 2-track thing here. I'm talking about visual stuff and this writing thing, but the process is very similar in that the mistake a lot of people made, and I made this in college when I started writing, as I went along, I started correcting and perfecting the sentences. And then I forgot what the heck I was writing about because I was so busy on the grammar and so on the 2 or 3 sentences that I had, I lost that flow. So I knew about that, get it done. And I don't really understand this part and I don't care. And I went past it. And so I wrote this set of lyrics that I knew would have to be molded and changed. So there were a few parts of it here and there over the next several weeks. I wasn't dwelling on this. I had it handy down. I have my sister's piano in my apartment actually, and I would lay it over there and then an idea would hit me and I'd read and then so on and so on. Well, eventually I had something I felt confident enough to show Jessica, and she doesn't even know this is going on actually. So there was another event and I had them with me, and then when I think it was over when she was done, because I didn't want to interrupt her even on our break, I said, I have these lyrics. Would you like to, could I read them to you? So she said, sure. She closed her eyes. I read the lyrics. I got choked up reading them. They're kind of a bit of a heavy song in many ways. And she just turned and looked at me. She said, they're beautiful. Yeah, give me them. And I was fine with that, at that part. For me, I'd never written a song. I mean, I felt like I had accomplished something. So over the next several months, actually, when I'd see her, she'd mention it or I'd mention it. And she said, no, they're sitting on my piano. They're sitting on my piano. Melody hasn't come. And one day out of nowhere, I get a text from her asking if I had done a painting, by the way. This was before all this. And I'm pretty sure you guys are going to show it. The director, Dave, will get it up. But
yeah, now, Vince, what year did you paint the painting in?
The painting just was several years, actually, before we had this discussion. It was one of those, yeah, I had done it a few years. And actually, not too long before we talked about this, I sold the original. I got an email out of nowhere. Some woman in Virginia saw it on my website. And I sold the original not too long before we talked about all this. And it's called The First Cardinal in Spring, and it's a cardinal on my neighbor's rooftop. And so Jess had seen the painting after I'd given her the lyrics. She might have seen them a little bit even before that. But I get a text one day, is the cardinal male or female? And that's all it said. I know the colorful ones. Let's see, it's and I said male. And I think she said, thank you, or I'll explain later. I don't even know if she responded. It just came out of nowhere. I thought, boy, that was funny. So, but I know her, and I know something was spinning around that pretty little head of hers. And so I just thought that was cool. I mean, something's going on. 2 months later, 6 weeks later, or something, she calls me and said that it's done, and she recorded it. And I almost dropped the phone, and I'm wondering, what? You know? So
Now, Vince, do you remember what the weather was like when I texted you?
it was not good. It was cold. That happened to be, I tell you what, I do caricatures at Seven Springs in ski season, and that happened to be 3 winters ago when that week this all initiated. It was a nice week, but that winter, it went well into April where you can ski. March turned out to be like February weather, and usually they're winding down in mid-March. This, you know, it's the weather's changing a lot and fast, but this time it snowed well into April up there, and it was, you know, extra long here in Pittsburgh.
And Vince, what's the word when the polar vortex, is that what they call when the really super cold comes? It's like zero, sub-zero.
Yes, I believe, yeah, yeah.
That's how cold it was when I went to Audible Images to sit at the piano and record it. It was
Yeah.
sub-zero.
Your memory's right on, because it was an extra long winter, and yeah, so that I felt I showed her I was right. Her suburban Cardinals don't know what they're talking about, but it's really true. I mean, there's something to this other than coincidence, because by the time these birds make their way into the city and hang out there, something's really changing, because, you know, we all know about our rivers, but Pittsburgh's actually surrounded by 7 hills, 7 mountains, so that blocks a lot of stuff. And I can't tell, I live in Northside, I'm right across the river from downtown. I can't tell how many times we have 1 inch of snow here, and the, you know, suburban friends have 4, 5, 6 inches, because the mountains will break things.
Well, Vince, you know, going back to when you gave me the lyrics,
Yeah,
I was shocked because you had given me the lyrics in a very kind of a very typical songwriting form, like where there were verses and there was a bridge section for the music already kind of mapped out by your lyrics. So I didn't have to do a lot of work. I just had to put the music, I had to put your lyrics onto my piano. And Al, as you know, we've talked about this sometimes. I just waited, like
Yes.
Vince said, until inspiration hit. And then I heard it, I sat down and I started playing the melody out, and boom, very quickly, Vince, we had a song. But you had written those lyrics in almost like verse, verse, bridge, verse, kind of a. Did you think about that when you were writing it?
yeah, you know, that's interesting to me. Now, I did a lot of term paper writing and commentary and stuff like that when I was writing a lot in college, hundreds and hundreds of pages. But I think, well, jumping back a bit, when Jessica and I got to know each other, what really got us talking a lot were lyrics. And I've been listening to lyrics as a child. My mother had a great record collection: Sinatra, Count Basie, Tony Bennett, Sarah Vaughan. I mean, the good stuff. And the words, I got onto words, I mean, 10, 11 years old, and I knew lyrics, how important they were. It was always funny, you know, 8th grade, high school and stuff, your friends aren't really listening to words at that time. They kind of discover them later as they go through the trials and tribulations of life. And so, and I always remember, you know, in those days, there were no video, you know, and I remember looking at album covers, and at the back of it, they'd include the lyrics, and I could see that structure. Even as you're talking about that, I see that structure in my head, and I understood what that, something about what that was like. And I also hung out with a lot of musicians, the kids in high school. Some are around town now, and people would know their names. And, you know, I was hanging out with those guys, going to their practices and different things. And again, there was always music in my house. My sister played piano and all this stuff. So when I wrote out that structure, I knew somehow intuitively that this was to be performed at some point. I was looking at it like a song.
Now,
And
Now,
Yeah.
Vince, let me ask you something there. So, can you say a word to our television audience about the meaning, the inspiration, anything at all you'd like to share with them about what the lyrics meant for you, or nothing? Some people like to put lyrics out and let it be for the listener. Do you want to share something?
Yeah, the idea hit me. Um, the first Cardinal in spring, we're talking about 19, 84, 2021, the spring. But I had a period of time number of years ago where I had a lot of deaths in the family in a short time. The three closest people to me all passed away in 15 months. And that I could, as they say, I really could write a book about that. But this idea of the first cardinal of spring that what connected in me was my eternal spring, the real spring. Okay. And that was the big aha moment. And I thought, wow, that was good. And Jessica, I know, knows what I'm talking about here. It's like that thing hit me from outside, and came into my heart like, bang, like a explosion, mini explosion. And that was it. That was what this song's about. And the whole backtracking, hindsight's 2020, going back to the joking around on the text, talking to her at the Rivers Club, and all this comes, and it's come forward that way. And so I knew what Jessica meant when she told me that she's waiting for the melody to come to her, one whatever way it does. So that's what happened. That thing hit me, and I thought of this first cardinal of the eternal spring, the real spring. That was the idea. Now, people that aren't, creative professionals and a lot of students don't understand. Ideas are all over the place. The problem is the form. So how does the form, visually, my painting, that's the form, the artistic form. That's where the art is. In Jessica's profession, it's the music. Okay, she might have this idea. Like, I love her songs. If you ever, her own songs that she wrote, lyrics and music. A lot of them are metaphorical and so on. But okay, I have the idea for this thing. What is the form that it's going to take? But I can't bend and twist the form until I get something down on paper. So that was the lyrical thing. And, bang, 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 I'm scribbling this stuff out. I might have had 2/3 of them on that first draft down, completed, but that'd be polished later. And I had to make a clearer connection for the listener to what I'm saying here. So that's all I can
Now,
tell you.
yeah. Now, Vince, I want to say that, I used to have a creative writing teacher when I was in college who said, you have two rooms in your brain, two rooms. One is the creative room where you see and you feel and you hear and you experience. The other is the analytical room where you edit, you criticize, and you critique. And she said the only thing you don't want to do is have one foot in both rooms, like left foot in one room, right foot in the other. She said there's a door in between those rooms. When you go into the creative room, go in and shut the door. When you're ready to edit, go 100% into that editing, critical thinking room and shut the creative door. So to your point, that's what you're talking about. But I think before we hear the song, which we're going to run to now, to hear the song and listen to your lyric, Vince, just give everybody a little bit of an update on what you're doing with your visual art right now.
I have some commissions going and a couple other potential ones that'll probably happen. So I've been, the whole COVID situation has been ridiculous for everybody. And I've been able to keep busy through it with commissions. And if I don't have them, I'm painting anyway. I can't not paint. If I go a while without it, I'll work, because I just see paintings around me all the time.
So last thing, because I was just thinking if somebody had a photo or something and they wanted you to do a caricature or a drawing, but they can reach out to you how, Vince?
They can email me. I have two websites. One's my painting website, vincetheartist.com. and the other is idrawfaces.com. If you have some interest in some caricature work, email me at vince@idrawfaces.com. And painting, and I sell prints. You can go to my website now. I sell prints of my work, prints of First Cardinal in Spring. Vince at vincetheartist.com, or call 412-321-3508.
Okay, my friend, let's go hear that song right now. We're running out of time. We've got to get the song in there, everybody. This is the wonderful, wonderful artist Vince Ornato, Ornato, our dear friend Al. And Al, you get the final word as we go to hear Vince's lyric. Go ahead.
Vince, thank you very much for your insights. Jess, I have one question for you. Did your inspiration hit you at 3 in the morning, or was it later?
Yeah, I mean, this one for First Cardinal Spring was late at night. It was very late at night, and typically that's when a lot of the melodies come for me and music comes. So this is no different. So let's go and take a listen. What do
Thank you
think?
very much. Let's listen to this cardinal song. And it's a male cardinal because they're the bright red. Just have to share that with our fans. Some may not know that.
It can be a bitter pill when gradually you've lost the thrill. You even wonder if you've lost the will, but then you see it right there before you, the first cardinal of spring. Even children tire as not upon these way. They long for cold drinks and those sunny days, but then they see it. He flies above, the first cardinal of spring. I've now had many winters. I've known my share of chills. They've guided me through the pain with its power and its will. As I lay before you, do not worry. As I listen, I can hear it, and I know I will soon see it, the first cardinal of my eternal spring. It can be a bitter pill when gradually you've lost the thrill. You even wonder if you've lost the will, but then you see it right there before you, the first cardinal of spring.
What did all of you think of this great song that the visual artist wrote and was inspired, and he gave you his insights? We found out about Jess, took a little bit of time, and look what she came up with. And how about this, the lyrics, the music, it's all tied in beautifully, Jess. And Audible Images, a shout out to them and how professional and great their work is. And I'm just blessed to be co-producing, co-hosting. Check out Jessica Lee Jazz on YouTube and jessicaleejazz.com. And you can check out all of her works and the songs that she's written. So Jess, thanks again.
Yeah, Al. Hey, I think Vince did a terrific job with those lyrics, and I just had those lyrics sitting on my piano, and one day the music came, so I just sat down and started playing it and wrote it out, and there we had it. It was freezing, freezing cold weather, and Vince and I did go over to Audible Images later to take a couple of photos and do some things there to get Vince in the photos. But I went when it was like this polar vortex. It was below zero. I was
Wow.
sitting at that grand piano playing, just playing it and singing it. I think I just did it twice, and that was it. Hollis Greathouse was the engineer from Audible Images who
okay.
helped with that. So a shout out to Hollis Greathouse. He did a wonderful job. And, you know, Al, that leads us to another request, which
Yes.
this is an original song that I wrote. So I did the lyric and the melody out at the same time. The lyric and the melody came to me all in an instant. And I will talk about that in a moment. But this particular song is called Whispering. And this is on one of my albums that's called Rhythms of Anyway. And a couple of different people over time have requested this song, but in the past week, I've been working with a lot of musicians who want to do music and healing, music that really lifts people up, and even that is sound healing in nature. And so I have connected with a group of musicians nationally who are doing those types of projects together. And this was a song that they want to include on a compilation album with a bunch of national musicians.
That
who
is
have written
great,
songs.
Jess. Congrats. That's super.
Yeah, thank you. And so this song, Whispering, Al, came to me. The story behind it, I'll make it short, was that I was living up on Mount Washington in Pittsburgh, and I was all alone and I had two little dogs. I had moved into this place, beautiful view, right on Grandview, if you know Grandview Avenue of the city. But there were homes that were being broken into all around me. There were kids breaking into some of these houses for drug money, basically. And it was kind of a scary time because it was happening pretty frequently. And until they figured out who it was and the cops, you know, had to stop. So I got down one evening on my knees and prayed in the middle of my little living room, help. That's all I did is I got down and I prayed.
What a story, Jess.
Help. Because I mean, I had to take my dogs out, you know, in the middle of the night. I'm a musician. I come and go late and early. And so anyway, the song came to me in a New York second. Like I had to run and go get a pen and a piece of paper. And I just wrote everything down. The melody and the lyrics, the words came. So, you know, later I sat and put music, chords and piano music to this song to actually write some of the music. But the version that we're going to hear, Al, is something that Max Leake, a great pianist, and Mark Strickland, a great guitarist, helped to arrange this version that is on the Rhythms of Anyway album. The drums are the great Roger Humphreys, and we have percussion on there from the wonderful George Jones as well. And so this song, Whispering, when I prayed help to God, I got this song, and the lyric basically is about listen carefully because I'm whispering the answers to you. I'm
Sure.
whispering the voice of inspiration, the voice of protection and safety, the voice of hope in our lives, sometimes very quiet. So we have to get quiet to hear it, but it's there, that God is always with us. For me, it had to do a lot with God, although you'll never hear the word God in the song. So it's really about listening for that voice of inspiration and protection and guidance in your life, whatever you call that voice. And for me, it's the voice of God. And so this particular song, Al, would you like to hear it, or we could come back out of it and talk just a little bit more? This is really for me about hope again this spring.
Jess, thanks for sharing that story. I appreciate that. I'm excited. Let's just hear it right now.
Help me to love others more than myself. Help me to see what I cannot now see. Help me to listen and hear your voice. Help me to be what I'm meant to be. I will try to see life through your eyes. I will try to see time passing by. I will try to feel more now than afraid and alone. I will try to hear you whispering. Help me to realize that you are right here. Help me to know that you never will hide. Help me to have strength to ask you out loud. Grant me the courage to then live my life. I will try to see life through your eyes. I will try to see time passing by. I will try to feel more than afraid and alone. I will try to hear you whispering. Help me to give, wanting only to serve. Help me to think of your every need. Help me to know that we're one and the same. All of us connected by the breeze. I will try to see life through your eyes. I will try to see time passing by. I will try to feel more now than afraid and alone.
Jess, another big winner for Jessica Lee. I can't believe it's 6 years ago, because it was June of 6 years ago when you came out with this album. And I play it every so often as my nighttime lullaby. So I want to thank you. And I listened to the whole thing. And now I don't even make it through halfway and I'm asleep. So thank you very much. But hopefully all of you enjoyed this and you stay awake, because it's such a beautiful song. When you listen to the lyrics, not one mention of God, like you said, but this was his message to you, which we're both spiritual people and believe in God. So this is heartfelt and it was just beautiful. And now I've listened to the lyrics even more since then.
Yeah, yeah. And you and I've always say Sam Sandora is a dear friend of ours and an actor, director, producer, and he always says, Wiggle, what is God? God is love. So it's the voice of unconditional love for
Yes.
those who aren't religious, at all. And so, Al, I think that I just want to, as we always do, thank Dave Cable and BPTV for helping us to put this show on. Special thanks to Dave because he's creating a little bit of a video to go along with this song, Images of Hope, so that people can enjoy a visual kind of journey as they listen to the lyric and to the music. So special thanks to Dave Cable for his creativity there as well. And Al, I just want to thank everybody who's gone to jessicaleejazz.com and left a little tip in the virtual tip jar. That helps us for various reasons. And we're using some of those tips to bring song requests through walls into the shut-in community at senior living centers and nursing homes and more. So I just want to thank everybody who's gone and left a little virtual tip too.
And I'll close this out with thank all of you. Thanks to Dave Cable, BPTV. I can be redundant because I respect what they do. And the editing is just great as usual. Can't wait to see this on TV. And hopefully you all stay tuned for the next buy request. And don't forget to send buy requests to Jessica Lee and Al Levine, the talking machine. Whatever you want to hear, let us know. And thanks again, folks. Bye-bye.
See ya.